Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after Scump controversially excluded Crimsix from his OpTic Gaming Dream Team analysis he did just a couple of days ago, Prit has revealed that over the conversations he's had with other pros over the last several weeks, Crimsix was included on pretty much all of their list as the best ever player in his prime. How does Crim compare to some of the other great players in their prime? Advanced Warfare Scump, Infinite Warfare Formula, and does this mean that Scump should have put Crim on his list after all? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. This is Crim, by the way, at the Circuit of the Americas, if you guys are interested to know. He's driving his Porsche GT3 RS or whatever around, so this is in Austin, Texas, the circuit where the Formula 1 is going to be in 2 weeks' time. So yeah, nice little save there from Crim, oversteer, power slide moment through the corner. This I also wanted to mention because I thought this is hilarious. As JurNii says, it was an honour competing against Mr. Beast, and I was like, damn, yeah, JurNii, wow, what a result. I actually thought this was JurNii, and I still kind of think that it might be, but yeah, so here's Mr. Beast. I don't know what challenge they're doing here, and this is JurNii's, another JurNii doppelganger on the left-hand side. This looks so much like JurNii, but it's not quite him, you know what I mean? It's not quite, but it's very close, and I actually thought it was him for a good while until I zoomed in. I was like, actually, wait, hang on a second, that's actually not OpTic method. One thing to note as well, as we've said over the last couple of days, a lot of these challenger teams are now starting to form, and usually that means that a lot of the options they might have had previously are now no longer the case because they've been signed and secured by some of the actual CDL teams. There are still 3 CDL teams that we have no idea what they're doing. And there's one that we've known for some time and still hasn't confirmed anything. So I don't really understand why that's surely got to happen soon, if not this week, a couple of weekends after. Maybe they'll wait for the beta to end. I don't know what their plan is there. But Donny Temp will be one of the considerations. Neptune as well was not really a big conversation of this most recent season, but certainly during Cold War was a great player, I thought, for Florida Mutineers, and then was on the New York Subliners. So, and then even was briefly on the Los Angeles Guerrillas, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with Neptune, but Temp and Gwyn. And Gwyn was a big talking point in the most recent season as well, because he was on the Seattle Surge's bench and was widely considered to be maybe an option they should have gone for to replace Mac at some point of the season, just to see how that would have gone. So yeah, Neptune, Temp and Gwyn all playing together here in a Cold War chal. A little bit interesting just because you would think that these are some of the premium players for either CDL teams, the remaining ones to consider, or the top challenger teams to put together. As I say, Temp should really get an offer from a CDL team, if not a couple of CDL teams that are remaining, but whether he wants to take those offers, that's been a big debate over the last couple of months. Most people, including Octane, would say you take the money if the money's there, because you never really know if and when the money is ever going to run out on this point. So yeah, Gwyn, it's difficult for a guy like Gwyn because there's a very realistic chance if they'd have put him in that spot instead of Mac, he'd be straight in the starting team. It happens quite often, like Snoopy, for example. He came into Boston Breach as a hyped up prospect, but nonetheless, okay, he came from their academy system. They thought that he was going to be the real deal. He comes in for Champs, does a pretty damn good job given the circumstances, and now he's got a guaranteed starting spot, and probably that is maintained for some time. Like, for some players, that opportunity just doesn't arrive in the same way. I think Boston, what they've done with their academy system helps this in the same way as Toronto with their academy system. They can know full well that the players like Scrappy and even like Hixie and others will be very valuable players when they bring them into their starting team. If you've got a substitute that has no academy system, such as Gwyn, it was difficult, I guess, for Seattle to say whether they would get better or worse with Gwyn in for Mac. Maybe they would have done, maybe they wouldn't, but, you know, there's an argument they should have at least tried as they squandered maybe their chances to at least win something with Prit and Sib before the season was over, and now those players are both gone for free. Now, speaking of Prit, he has been probably doing some digging over the last few days as to exactly what people thought of Crimsix, you know, greatest of all time, whatever you want to say in terms of accolades at the very least, over his career. Because Crim gets into all sort of controversy and drama, especially with all sorts of players in his career, and there's always talk about exactly why Crim gets into these beefs, because, you know, in most other sports, the greatest ever doesn't really talk so much trash on other players. You know, usually they have a bit more respect from the other players and for the community than Crimsix has necessarily been able to garner. And maybe that will change over time. But Crim played in this most recent OpTic Legacy Showmatch tournament between these guys and the OpTic Legacy team of Crim, Karma, obviously Scump played, and then it was Embos as well instead of Formal because, well, the Halo World Championship is coming up very shortly indeed, just this coming weekend in Seattle. So on this OpTic Game Chat episode, Kenny was talking about how, I don't want to concern you guys, but, and this was recorded slightly before the OpTic Legacy match, that Crim is disgusting at this game. And basically says, like, we got to be careful here because Ghost Crim, Prime Crim back in the day was so good at this title that we are in for a very hard time. But coincidentally, pretty much, you know, shortly after this, Scump, as we saw in yesterday's video, said that if he had to put together his all-time favourite OpTic team to play with effectively a dream team at the moment, he would put Formal, obviously, Karma, and then he would put Shotzzy instead of Crim. And this might well make sense if you're actually trying to build a sensible roster today. You probably want more SMG presence than the OpTic Dynasty even maybe had at the time, because back then it was Formal was the main, Crim was kind of like the flex, as it were, but the roles weren't quite defined in the same way as they are today. You didn't really have a Simp and aBeZy, an aggro sub, a secondary sub. Scump was like the do-it-all sub, and then Karma was just the support dirty work guy, and that worked for OpTic in the Dynasty period back in the day for sure, but that kind of philosophy doesn't, maybe it would still work today, and I think that it definitely could work today, but that's not generally how teams are built, and Scump feels like as a player that he's probably slowed down somewhat over the last few years. I get it why he thought, you know what, I'll put Shotzzy into my dream team instead of Crim, but the fact that you're excluding Crim from this discussion definitely, well, caused some questions in the community, and Pred now goes on to say that as far as he's concerned, everyone seems to be telling him that Crim, Ghost Crim especially, was the greatest peak player ever. So on peak performance, maybe Scump has a question to answer.
One thing I will say, it is not not to like be scared of, but this was Crim's best game.
Oh shit!
He was gone.
Oh shit! No,
yo, Crim was gone.
He's actually the best, like by far.
He was bro.
Like, no one's even close.
Crim was not.
He was insane.
I remember watching events, bro.
But he just wasn't. No one could touch him.
No,
Bro, he would single-handedly win games,
he
bro.
was gone.
Bro, there
Was he an AR sub?
He read everything,
bro. He was not. He was just him, bro.
Crim was insane. I still remember his like. He had like a 20 piece. No, on like the 18 on Octane. He was turning on people. I don't watch it.
I was thinking the
20, but it was like a 10. It was like a 10 spree. But he's literally world star now.
Wait. Was that when he's picking up guns?
Yeah, he's picking up guns. Yeah, that's
Wait, in the bottom octane?
Yeah, that bro.
He was.
Wait, that shit was crazy?
Bro, he was insane. Bro, he dropped 20. Bro, I'll never forget this map. His team was like trolling. I think they lost first map, and then this is the map he dropped 20. Bro, he was like, nah,
20 in S&D?
Bro, he was shitting. He was getting 3 every round, bro.
Crim was good.
1v2ing.
So we got.
I heard everyone's like, the best peak ever was him. Like I remember Austin Slasher. I used to be like, bro, like out of all the times he played, like he was the best ever player. He's like Ghost Crim.
Ghost Crim. I'm telling you. A lot of people say that.
Who do you think was the best player, like best peak player ever? Best player ever? Yeah, like Eddie's peak best player ever. Damn. That's hard. Everyone, like, I've spoken to a few people and everyone's told me the same answer. Yeah, everyone tells me Ghost Crim. Yeah, it's either Ghost, like Ghost end of BO2 / Ghost Crim. Probably the best player ever. That's fucked. You literally like 1v4. He was like actually unkillable. Yeah. That's I mean, bro, they didn't lose the tournament for like 10 events. Yeah, that's fucking insane. And he dropped fucking 1.3 at every single one. Yeah. In like every game mode. Get ready for the next one. That's fucked, eh? Yeah, that time period, like end of Black Ops 2 and through most of Ghost, he was for sure the best. Like player. Unkillable. Yeah, unkillable. Like he was actually unkillable. I heard on Ghost, like especially I don't know, like I watched Black Ops 2 but a little bit, but like I heard on Ghost, like he ran like every gun and just didn't die.
So as Crim said right shortly before this OpTic Legacy match, this is our playground. Nobody is possibly touching us on Ghost, and that pretty much turned out to be the case. It was 5-1 in the end. I know that Crim didn't drop like a 1.5 or anything, but even Crim mentioned recently on one podcast that he did that he's had some issue with his thumb. It's not the same thing that Zuma's had with the the cyst or whatever that he had, and there's been all sorts of other issues that players have had with their hands over the last couple of years. Illy, of course, was the big example of that really during the 2022 season. But Crim says that, yeah, there's something in his thumb that's he basically has no like a ligament there anymore or something, and he can't really feel it moving. So I think maybe that was one of the reasons why Crim declined somewhat at the end of his career on an individual level, and I wouldn't expect him to be dropping into the throwbacks and dropping crazy numbers when all he's really been doing lately is racing cars virtually or in real life, as we saw. But still, I mean, Crim knows how to play the game, and during those titles he was unbelievable. This is the clip specifically that Kenny was referring to. If you guys have seen this one before, 1-2 with the Remington, and then he runs forward to the 18-wheeler, even while still a little bit weak, gets the second and the third, hits the reload because he picks up the sleight of hand, gets the third and the fourth, and that was the classic, sweet baby Jesus or whatever it was that Maven said at the time, and then he goes on to get even more kills. This was an Octane domination up against Envy at the time as the Complexity Dynasty of Teep, Aches, Crim, and Karma. Definitely, and then I think he gets spot on it, doesn't he? Yeah, he gets spot on to end the clip, which is pretty funny after completely world-starring their team for a couple of minutes. This was the other great moment that season when Crim dropped 20. I mean, there was plenty of moments of Crim being ridiculous in this game, especially given the fact that, in a similar way to Formal, Crim hadn't really been in COD that long. Formal came in on the other team here very shortly before this, really, and Formal was very quickly incredibly good. Crim only really started playing COD during the Black Ops 2 season. He was around a little bit, then he went to Halo, then he came back to COD, and Aches and TP decided to get him in, and in Ghost he was ridiculous, dropped 20 kills. This was the record for a long time, and it pretty much still retains the record, to be honest, for most of the kills. Dashy did tie it during World War II, and I think there might have been a 21 bomb during Black Ops 4 in 5v5, but I'm not sure that counts to quite the same extent as 20 kills in 10 rounds in a pro match to Search and Destroy. Still probably the best of a map to Search and Destroy that's been played by an individual, and it was by Ghost's Crim. During that game as well, especially given the fact that there wasn't crazy amount of events. Advanced Warfare, there were so many events, but yeah, Ghost's Crim, he won the World Championship that year. Of course, he won the World Championship on every single Modern Warfare title, until of course nobody picked him up going into Modern Warfare 2. So yeah, Ghost Crim definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I thought it was interesting that Pred said, and Accuracy kind of agreed, that yeah, Ghost's Crim, especially for players that played him and know, was the absolute, the Terminator, right? You couldn't stop this guy back then. And, it makes me wonder whether if you were putting together a prime, like all-time prime team, then maybe Crim could have been in that Scump Dynasty roster combination that he put together. But I guess it's interesting to think how Crimsix compares here, because usually when the community talks about this, best ever peak performance player, Ghost Crim is not the first one that comes to mind. And I swear, when he said this to Accuracy, when he was like, yeah, everyone's telling me that it's Ghost Crim, I was like, I thought he was going to say everyone's telling me that it's IW Formal or even like AW Scump, and those are kind of the two names. IW Formal, especially at the World Championship, was a big one, and then AW Scump was insane, but also people say Modern Warfare 3 Scump from way back in the day, like he was really good at that game as well. There's a few candidates, even Black Ops 2 Karma was up there, but yeah, so those are usually the names that get thrown around. Ghost Crim is always on the borderline of the discussion, but I've not usually heard a lot of the pros say that, like, yeah, Ghost Crim was the man. Then again, there's not that many pros that really go far back enough to know, right? I mean, we're talking the Ghost season was 2013, 2014. That's a decade ago. There aren't really that many pros that have experience playing against that from Crim to actually give their comment on it. Accuracy, I guess, would be one that could. But I thought it was an interesting discussion. Just to close out with, actually, Crimsix is not listed here, but I thought it interesting from Jake Hell. These four pros, we've got Karma, we've got JCap, we've got Aches, and we've got Apathy in the top left-hand side. Which of these multiple-time retired world champions if they came back for a season, whoever they teamed with would have the best chance of winning a chip. Now, obviously, the answer, if it's not just these four, would be Scump. I know that, okay, Scump isn't a multiple time, but the thing is with Scump is that if he was to come back, he would always find himself on a good team, theoretically. Whereas if these guys were to come back, you don't really know who they would actually end up playing with, which is a big part of actually winning a championship if they were to try and make a return. I think the best players, I think like Karma and probably aBeZy would have the best chance, theoretically. aBeZy was really good and underrated. And even if aBeZy came back and played today, he might have 4 out of the 5 or 6 events of the season that he plays badly in, but he will have one event where he absolutely fries, and, you know, that could be the chance to win, I suppose. Underrated player, 2-time world champion, people forget pretty quickly, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.